49-10. It was a nice win for Penn State over Purdue, but I would still like to see the Nittany Lions clean these things up.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch. Every single day we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. My name is Zach Seyko. I am your host of the show. This is an instant recap, a rapid reaction to Penn State's win over Purdue, 49-10. Tyler Warren boosting the Heisman campaign, right? Another outstanding day. I do want to start with the things that concern me, though, about Penn State, because yes, it's a complete team win. 49-10. Another, a fairly quick start, right? Not playing from behind, no question marks about how the team started the game. But I don't think that they're forcing enough turnovers overall. Now, key interception, pick 6 against Wisconsin, pick 6 against Ohio State that ultimately didn't amount to anything or change the outcome of the game, unfortunately. But aside from some, hey, it's good that Penn State is stepping up in clutch moments, but when you compare it to 2023, there's just not a lot of turnovers forced in this case. And against a team like Purdue that is now 1-9, they're playing from behind, so there's more opportunities to get interceptions or strip sack fumbles, and the defense just isn't getting the quantity of turnovers. So the quality of turnovers is fairly good, coming up in key spots, as I've mentioned. But I would still like this defense that has veteran experience, playmakers across the board, and I know there was the 50-50 interception play before the end of the first half, but it ultimately did not turn into a turnover. So Penn State without a turnover in this game, and I will stand by the fact that they're not forcing enough. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. Wow, 49-10. If only they had a couple more turnovers in this case. But it is Purdue. I felt like there should have been an interception or two. That strip sack fumble that I mentioned. I just don't think Penn State is forcing enough turnovers, especially when the game script is favoring for them to do that. So what happens in the stretch when you do need a big play made? You got the one against Wisconsin. You got another one against Ohio State. I would just like to see more in this case. Speaking of something that I'd like to see more from, the wide receivers. The wide receivers were almost non-existent against Purdue. Tyler Warren did everything offensively. He's the leading rusher, and we'll talk about him in just a moment. But 8 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, and then what? Who was the next wide receiver? Who was the next pass catcher? Next leading receiver was Katron Allen. 4 catches, 44 yards, touchdown. Luke Reynolds was the third leading receiver. Backup tight end, third string tight end in garbage time. 3 catches, 53 yards, touchdown. Trey Wallace, 2 receptions, 54 yards, and one of them was the big play where Drew Aller threw a line drive to him in the end zone after. But before that, 1 catch for 8 yards. Nicholas Singleton, 2 catches for 20 yards. You're getting my point. Amari Evans, 1 catch for 2 yards. Okay. You have Tyler Warren, somebody who can take over a game, and that's great. You want players like that. The ground game was averaging almost 7 yards per carry, over 6.9 yards per carry at the end of the day. Okay, so that was the formula to beat Purdue. But I feel like against a Purdue team with a mediocre secondary, they are not good in coverage. The analytics back that up. And Tyler Warren ate up all the reps. I understand that. But down the stretch, Penn State has to find a way, because against better teams, and we might even see this against Minnesota, where they're going to be able to do things to limit Tyler Warren. And I'm not saying that Tyler Warren's going to be held out of the box score. He's still going to get at least 5 catches, 50 yards a game, right? You can expect that from Tyler Warren, and apparently over 60 rushing yards too in this case. Heisman moment today. Yes, Heisman moment for Tyler Warren. But the wide receivers still need to provide more to this offense. I thought that Tyseer Denmark would get involved. And he did. Punt return looked nice. He has that electric ability, and I think that that's going to build. He's going to build upon this performance. But I wish that Penn State would get the wide receivers a little more involved, to see Leon Clifford or Julian Fleming, everybody else held out of the score sheet. Mari Evans gets that one catch for 2 yards inside of the 5 and isn't able to convert. That's a great open field tackle by the defender. What can you do about that? But there really wasn't anything else that says this was an inspirational performance. Awesome for Tyler Warren, but the wide receivers continue to disappoint, and when the conversation was getting better and there was optimism, it feels like they keep taking a step backwards. They continue to take steps backwards. So you have Minnesota, you have Maryland to kind of fix some of these issues, because as you saw against Ohio State, when you play elite competition, you need your wide receivers to step up. Because look what happens when Tyler Warren is limited. He's not taken away. He's limited. And the wide receivers weren't there to pick up the slack. Against a team like Purdue, there should have been more than just ultimately 3 receptions for 57 yards and the one broken coverage. There was a lot of broken coverage by Purdue. The wide receivers should have had more influence on the box score at the end of the day. Talking about the tackling too. So flip back to the defense. Tackling was abysmal. Also, the average yards per completion, 14.5 for Purdue. So they only completed 15 passes, but when Purdue was able to complete the passes that they did, they were for big chunk plays. I don't know how much, that's why I kind of saved that for last, because I don't know how I want to put too much stock into it. Again, garbage time, you're playing backyard football at that point. Purdue's throwing the football around, whatever they can do to just pick up yardage. So I won't read into it too much, but when Purdue is averaging more yards per completion than Drew Aller, that's kind of saying something. Drew Aller had a heck of a performance, 17 of 19, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Bo Pribula came in the game and threw for 58 yards and a touchdown pass. So it's interesting to me that Purdue was able to get more yardage on the passes it did complete. But the tackling also, the tackling by Penn State was atrocious again. You have to be able to wrap up, and I'm surprised the tackling issues have gone on this long. We saw it early in the season. Okay, this is something that can be correctable, right? It's just an early season mistake. They'll work on it. It's happening in Game 10. That's something that absolutely needs to get fixed. Tyler Warren for Heisman. He certainly has the campaign to back it up. We'll talk about that more in this instant recap on the other side of this break. And today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby. It is a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or that agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like all of us. The fans who are first in the parking lot, who are last to leave. We see you. You know what gave me a bit of fan fuel this week? Tyler Warren's performance. 11 touches, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another game to continue to follow up what an incredible season that he has had. He's doing it all, truly. He was the leading rusher. So Tyler Warren providing that fan fuel this week. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com and shipped nationwide. Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. You got to download the Gametime app because buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier than before. Gametime Picks, what does it do? It filters out all of the fluff to only show you incredible deals on incredible seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Let's look at some tickets for Penn State versus Minnesota on Gametime. You can go to the Gametime app or go to gametime.co on your browser. And I have tickets pulled up for Penn State at Minnesota. All-in pricing included here. Super deals and amazing deals already showing up at the top of the Gametime list. The super deal here. All-in pricing in section 113, row 19, $77 a piece, so no surprise fees at checkout if you're looking for just the lowest price. Upper corner of the stadium, section 219, row 20, $44 all-in pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And Tyler Warren with the outstanding game, as I've mentioned, 8 catches, 127 yards, receiving touchdown, and then the leading rusher. 3 attempts, 63 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Tyler Warren is absolutely in the Heisman conversation. He absolutely is. I'm not going to sit here and say that he is the Heisman lead frontrunner. I know the running back, Ashton Jeanty at Boise State. He has, 25 touchdowns now? I mean, that's insane. And Tyler Warren just continues to do everything. Whether it's 17 catches for 224 yards against USC, or this moment where he is the leading halfback and then the leading wide receiver, and in total, 11 touches for almost 200 yards. So close, 190 yards and 2 scores. Those are Heisman types of moments, especially when there is not a prolific type of quarterback. This Heisman race, in my opinion, is wide open. I would lean Jeanty from Boise State. But if you're going to make the argument for Travis Hunter, oh, well, he does so much. He's so dynamic. He plays offense and defense. Tyler Warren does everything, man, on offense. Maybe he doesn't play defense, but he does a little bit of everything on offense. Runs the football, passes the football, catches the football, snaps the football. Truly does everything. Travis Hunter isn't doing that out of Colorado. And while he can play offense and defense, I think he's a better playmaker offensively. But he's been a liability at cornerback from time to time. He's not perfect when he's out there at cornerback. He's handling a lot of responsibility, so I'm not surprised when he gives up a big catch. But it's not like he's a shutdown, lockdown type of cornerback that makes him that much better. Tyler Warren and Travis Hunter are very comparable, and both should be in the Heisman race alongside Ashton Jeanty. Since, like I said, there's really no quarterback that is standing out above that is miles ahead like you have in years past. This is wide open for a running back to take the Heisman Trophy again, or an uncharacteristic skilled position player to take it as well, right? That rarely happens when a wide receiver or a defensive back or anything, a tight end, right? A tight end winning the Heisman. But Tyler Warren's in this conversation. It's not crazy. And I could argue that he is more valuable to Penn State than Travis Hunter is to Colorado. And that's what it's about, right? It's not just stat padding. It's about value to the team. Penn State plays Minnesota. Penn State has Maryland left. Maryland, an embarrassing loss to Rutgers. Minnesota's coming off of a bye. That's a talented defense, but I still like the matchup. Penn State can also look for a revenge opportunity for the last time they went out there and they lost in 2019 when both those teams are ranked. It's something I like Penn State's chances. I think Penn State wins by double digits at this point. I think that Minnesota is one-dimensional, and if you take away the things that they need, don't give them any turnovers, take away Darius Taylor in the ground game, Minnesota's going to have a hard time. That's pretty simple of how Penn State just needs to be able to deal with the back-to-back road trips. And it was good that these guys got involved in terms of the backups, the rotational players against Purdue. That's important too. Saw a lot of young players. Like I said, Luke Reynolds getting a touchdown. Other key backups, rotational players getting into the game early and often, as Penn State would have liked against Purdue. Those are valuable reps. Those are valuable snaps that are going to be important down the stretch. And you're only going to see more of those rotational players now that some of them don't lose their red shirt. They have the freedom to play and not have the redshirt status affected if they are a true freshman, right? Except for those few players that I've mentioned here. That's going to do it for this instant reaction, a rapid reaction, I should say, instant recap of Penn State versus Purdue. 49-10. We'll have more discussions about it, more takeaways as we go through the entirety of the game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I'd really appreciate it if you left a like on this episode, but more importantly, be a part of the discussion. And if you're not already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams.